Okay, went ahead and left Juliet, Illinois, and from the past video you could see that there was a lot of loopers, as they call them, lined up along the seawall in Juliet. So the next morning, I was sitting there watching them leave, and I figured, well, I know there was a lock coming up, and they were gonna go in first. Uh, and these guys, you know, uh, go in pretty slow, just like the big barges do, mainly because they don't want to see their boat bouncing around all over the place inside the locks. So they don't want to create big wakes, so they come in pretty slow. Uh, this time, because there was quite a bit of them, they went ahead and tied them side by side. As you can see, the way they're tied up. There are some other boats in front of these boats that are tied up the same way. Uh, they can't tie me in with these guys, the big boats. Uh, I could get crushed by being in between one of those big boats the way they're lined up there. So they let all these big boats come in first, and they tie them all up together and everything. And then when everything's said and done, they give me the okay to come in and tie up behind them. And so all I got to basically do is just pick up a line, and once they're all in, tied in and everything. But anyway, I didn't go through. I edited it again and didn't go through, this all the sitting around that you have to do there. Here we've dropped the water and we're getting ready to go out. Now there's a bridge right past on the other side of this lock here, and these boats can't go through there. They have to open up the bridge for them. So I went ahead and called ahead and got a hold of the lockmaster, and instead of just sitting here and waiting for these guys to go through, I went ahead and asked if it was okay if I just go ahead and go through, since I didn't have to wait for a bridge to open. And he gave me the okay. He said, yeah, go ahead. So I kind of started off, and as I started, then I noticed the bridge was starting to open. So I figured, well, I'm already taking off anyway, so I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to travel faster than these guys anyway, so I want to get in front of all of them. Uh, and that's what happened. As the bridge is going up, I went ahead and speed it up a little bit just to get in front of all these boats so I could go ahead and pick up my speed and my regular speed and take off again. But as you can see, all these guys doing the loop, I'm going to run into these guys for the next 2 or 3 days at the locks. Some of them will lock out in the mornings, and some of them will lock out in the afternoons. It just depends on how they all decide. You know, they normally don't want to travel a bunch of them. You don't want to get 10 of these boats all locking through every day uh, through the lock system, because it just takes them a long time to do it. So sometimes some of these boaters will sit and wait and let 4 or 5 boats go one morning, and then they'll wait till the next morning to take off, so that they don't have to lock through with 10 boats or whatever. This is quite a bit of boats to lock through at one time, and it takes a while. It takes them, it took them probably pretty close to 45 minutes to an hour for them to go in one by one and then lock themselves or tie themselves down together to make sure that while the water's coming down, these boats were not going to be moving around and creating a problem. So uh, what our plan of attack now is that we're heading toward Peoria, Illinois. Uh, there is one more stop in between Juliet and Peoria that I'm going to make. It's a marina called Heritage Marina. A lot of the loopers will stop there. Uh, just it's kind of like a halfway point to Juliet. I'm sorry, to Peoria. So that's my plan of attack for today is to head down and get to Heritage Harbor, tie up for the night, and get ready to go again. As you can see, there's I mean, tons and tons of these barges everywhere, lined up everywhere. Some of them are empty, some of them are full, some of them are waiting to get picked up, and you know these big tugs are coming in and picking up all these barges, moving them around all day long. So it's pretty busy commercial wise. Every day that you're on the river, you can see all of this going on. So it does take a lot of maneuvering around these barges and stuff. And of course, they have the right of way. Uh, anywhere where they're at, it's your job to get out of their way, not their job to get out of the way. One, they probably couldn't get out of your way anyway, because as you can see, when they've got these tied up all together, they're 3 wide. I think that's the widest they can go through the canals or through the locks. So they're 3 wide, and there's 5 long, or hooked up one in front of the other, and then they're all being towed by one towboat. So it takes that towboat a long time to get it to start turning or start moving forward or reverse, and also to stop. They said these things won't stop on a dime. So if you're in front of one of these and you get in trouble and your engine quits, for example, uh, you have to get on that radio, and hopefully you can get a hold of the captain of the barge coming up, and he can see that you're not moving, and hopefully maybe try and stop before he hits you. So, and that all depends on how close you are to them. But anyway, they're pretty interesting to watch, and it's amazing how these tugs can move these big barges around, but it does. Here I decided to do a panorama view of this little area. It's like a community of houseboats. They're all underwater, and they all seem, I guess they're privately owned, I would imagine, because I see it looks like some of them are permanent residents and stuff, but it's a whole little community of houseboats that are underwater. And they're built on pontoons. The same. Some of them are built on pontoons, but the majority of them were built on like the barges that are going up and down the river. It looks like they took one of these barges and went ahead and put a house on top of it, and then they locked them down underwater. Now they don't typically move around, so you might be able to move them. I mean, you hook them up to a tugboat or something, and maybe the tugboat can pull them somewhere if you want to move or something. But here's all the boats again, and they're getting ready to go through another lock. So that's what I'm sitting back here in the back, because they have to go in first, and they have to start tying themselves up again like they did on the last lock. And that's the thing about when you're traveling with a bunch of these loopers, especially these big boats. When you're traveling with a bunch of the loopers, it takes a long time to go through these locks, because they go one boat at a time. It's not like you're going to have, 4 or 5 of these boats. No, they're all done all at one time. So now I've gone ahead and edited again, going up and down the locks. I mean, it's pretty simple. The boats come in and the water's high, and when you're going downstream, obviously now you're heading toward sea level. So everything is downstream. You go into a lock and it drains the tub, as I'd like to call it, and then you go out, and it's done this way the whole way till you get to Mobile, Alabama, where once you're there, you're at sea level. So everything is going down while you're on these things here. But Anyway, we finally get out of here, slowly got out of here, and we end up getting to Heritage Marina, which is where, it's about a middle point stop. And here they have a gentleman, Jeremy, I guess, who's in charge of the marina or something like that. And he has a little seminar that he does every day for the loopers, right in the afternoon and the evenings, like around 4 or 5 o'clock. He has these meetings that you can attend, and he basically tells you where to go, what to do, how to get through some of the areas from this location that he's at now, all the way down to Altoona, uh, Illinois, which is one of the long spans that you're going to have to deal with. But this is a very nice little marina. It's kind of like in an upscale community, so everything is kept real nice. Beautiful marina. It's got a pool. It's got a restaurant. Of course, the restaurant, I stayed there 2 days, and the restaurant is closed those 2 days that I was there, so didn't even get uh, to try the food there at the restaurant. But they did have like a snack bar and stuff down at the main office by the marina, so you were still able to grab some sandwiches, some cokes, and sodas, and whatever else you might need. A little bit of provisions. Uh, but all in all, a very nice marina, very well kept, and they're also very concerned about their ducks and geese. As you can see, it's a very beautiful community, but they also include a quack house, as they call it, and it's built for the ducks, right underwater. You'll be able to see them here shortly as we're coming up to them, and I guess they have seasonal or ducks that live here. You can see that little house right there, and there's a couple of ducks swimming along the wall here. Uh, and I guess they're part of the community here because they provide them with their own house, and they even have vending machines where you can put a quarter in and get food and feed the ducks, and maybe that's why they stick around. But anyway, I started approaching these two geese that were sitting on the dock here, and I kept thinking, geez, when are they going to move? Or turns out they're not even real. So they look real from where I was filming. So I was able to walk right up to them. They also have all these rental boats here, these pontoon boats that you can rent. So it's like I said, pretty nice upscale community. Here's the little house that they built for the ducks, I guess, so they can go in and sleep or whatever they want to do. But it's kind of like a little novelty thing, but it's nice to see. They do take care of the ducks and everything here. They feed them. They anything they want. Of course, by having these ducks here, they have to clean the decks out almost every day. So every morning there's a guy cleaning out. But anyway, we went through the seminar and everything, and here we are leaving now, and got to see a close-up of a riverboat that has paddles in the back, and it looks like it was working because there were people coming in and out. So I guess this is where they board, and then it takes them down the river or up the river, I guess, for a tour or whatever. But that was pretty nice to see, a real working riverboat. But as we're moving on, we kept going to, like I said, our next stop is to Peoria. Here we are. I finally got away from the crowd and ended up getting to the next lock, and nobody was here. I was by myself because I was traveling faster. And then I realized that when I got here, there was a barge or a tugboat, and the barge is just going into the lock. So I thought, I'm going to be sitting here for a while, at least 2 or 3 hours. That's going to give the other guys enough time for them to catch up to me, and then I'll have to go through the locks with them again. Uh, there's pretty nice little scenery that that was around here. You can see where they carved off the mountain there. And then to the right of here was the dam. There's the dam right there. And then there's the lock over on this side where we're going to now. It takes this tug. These things move very, very slow. You can barely see them moving. But that's because you can't afford to have these things banging along the side walls of the locks. They could damage the lock, those seawalls. And if they damage the seawalls, they would have some serious problems. So what they did is they brought the barges in, then they unhooked the tugboat from it, and the tugboat and the barges all together were too long to go through the locks. So they unhooked the tugboat. The tugboat pushes itself out of the lock, and then they send the barges through the lock system on their own. Now they have some kind of cable system, I guess, with a winch that pushes these barges out of the way once they're down, once they're out of the lock system. Then they can use the lock, and then they bring the tugboat in. Now, because they were only going to do the tugboat through this locking through, they went ahead and got me on the radio, and they said to go ahead and go on in and go past the tugboat and tie up, so that I wouldn't have to wait anymore. I could go with the tugboat. And because the tugboat's got to pick up the barges at the end on the other side of the lock here, they went ahead and told me to go in first and go all the way forward, so that as soon as the lock's doors are open, I can go ahead and go out. Because the tugboat has to come hook up to all these barges that he unhooked from, and that's going to take them a while. So I'll be out of their way also by coming in first. I'll go ahead and just take off as soon as they open the gates, and then the tug can maneuver, handle whatever, do whatever they need to do to hook up the barges back up again and keep moving. But it's pretty amazing because, they, like I said, there's like a cable system or something that hooks up these barges. And I guess when you turn the winch on, it pulls all these barges out of the locks, out of the lock here. Right now, those barges are sitting on the other side of these big doors here. And as soon as the water drops and the doors open, I'll be able to see the locks, or you'll be able to see the barges that are going to get hooked up to the tugboat that's behind me. The tugboat is now coming in right behind me, and he's going to be tying up, and just like I'm tying up now. And then again, I'm going to edit this because I don't want to go through all of the, you guys sitting there and waiting for the water to drain out. Here are the gates now that are opening up after they've drained all the water out. And as soon as it finishes opening, you're going to be able to see all these barges right in front of me. And I'm just going to go around them and leave, so that the barge or the tugboat can go ahead and go through and get them hooked up again. It's pretty interesting how they do this, I guess, because they're able to push so many of them. Now you're talking about there's 5 long and there's 3 wide, so you're talking about 15 barges that are hooked up all together, and one tugboat pushing all of these. It's amazing how they can even turn these things, but they do somehow, because you can see them as they follow the turns and the bends around the rivers and stuff. And you can always tell where the channel is, because these guys have done this forever, so they know exactly where they got to pull. And you can see these barges, there they are right in front of me. And I'm going around them, and the tugboat's going to come right behind them, hook up, and then take off with them again. So it's interesting how they do that. But hey, you learn something every day. So we're gonna move on. We're, like I said, we're heading to Peoria as the next major stop. And Heritage Marina was just kind of like the halfway point here. So hopefully by this evening or this afternoon, I'll be in Peoria. Uh, from there, I'm going to have a long stretch. I'm going to have a 180 some odd mile stretch before I can get fuel. So what I'm going to do is when I'm in Peoria, I looked it up on the map. Right across the river from where these docks are that I'm going to tie up at is a Walmart. So I'm going to go over there and get me a couple of extra 5-gallon cans to carry with me to make sure I've got enough fuel to make that 180-mile run. Right now, just on the 2 tanks themselves, I only got 120-mile range, and I already have one 5-gallon. So I'm going to get me 2 more 5-gallon tanks. You can see here's all those barges there that are going to get, towed as soon as a tugboat hooks up to them. So, and you can see they're long. There's 5 of them hooked up, one in front of the other one, and they're 3 wide. So there's a total of 15 barges being pushed, all by one tugboat. Anyway, interesting. But let's move on. As I said, we're going to Peoria, and according to Jeremy over at Harborage Marina, the city has some city docks that they allow you to tie up overnight for free. So we'll see when we get there. As we're going down, up and down the river systems here, you'll see a lot of these barges going both ways, either way. Some of them are empty, some of them are carrying, some of them look like they're carrying dirt and sand and gravel. I saw one maybe, I think, carrying coal. So I guess there's a lot of stuff that gets carried up and down the river system here. And it's probably pretty cheap, because I've heard that 15 of these barges that are tied up equals something in the reference of 180 or 190 tractor trailer trucks that would have to haul when this is done all but with one tugboat. So they're very efficient, apparently. If not, they wouldn't be doing it. For one, they'd be using tractor trailer trucks. So and you can imagine, pulling all these barges with just one tug, how efficient they must be. And they're pretty interesting to watch going up and down the river. People are always taking pictures of them as they're going by, because they're so long and so wide, and it's just unbelievable that one tugboat can actually push these things along. But I guess once they get started, they can keep going that way, and that's why they say it takes them a while to stop. But anyway, we finally got into Peoria. This is the nightlife here. As soon as it got dark and everything, I decided to film part of it, mainly because of the bridge. I wanted to film the bridge because they do light up the bridge here at night, and it looked pretty interesting. And I thought, wow, that's pretty colors. They kind of light them up like a Christmas tree. But we are in Peoria now, and here we are waiting. I'm at the docks now, the Peoria city docks. And although it says no overnight, and it says, that you have to pay, all the meters have been removed. So I didn't figure, well, how am I going to pay if all the meters have been removed? So I decided to go ahead and just stay tied up here. There was nobody else tied up here. I was the only one here. So I decided to go ahead and stay tied up. If somebody comes over and says, I got to move or I got to pay, then I'll just pay or I'll move, whichever one, they want me to do. But I stayed here all night and nobody showed up. There were some people walking up and down the docks, I guess. But the biggest thing about this is the ducks and the geese are all over the place. So the docks were full of waste. So they need to bring somebody to come in and clean them up and stuff, pressure wash them. Well, this is the end of this video here. We're going to be moving on here. As soon as I pick up the fuel tanks and get pick up fuel, we'll be on our way to our next stop. So until then, bye.